So welcome. I used to this Merosadhana session today, and I have a special proposal to you because last week we did, you and me, a very good job, you in Nepali, and translating and recording these poems for the Guru Purnima here in the Baba Patik ashram, no? The Patik Foundation. So the video was recorded, I edited in English, and you recorded in Nepali, you translated in Nepali. And I would like to use this material to speak about poetry, my relationship with poetry, and especially the deep meaning of those 6 poems. Actually, it's Osho because all these poems came in the process of spiritual psychotherapy from many, many years back. And it will be good to analyze, not intellectually, but emotionally, what is the meaning of each poem. So I'm going to share the screen. We are going to see the video that we did together, me in English and you in Nepali, okay?
Fly, seagull, fly. Await no more, seagull. I know how beautiful to dream, and yet difficult to wait. For a childish and unreal dream that puts you into a slumber and exploits you. Jump, little pigeon, jump. Someday you will have to jump. Discovered that you can fly, and that your goal is higher yet. Fear not, little bird, for you were born to fly. Not only to nestle, for the nest is so small, and your sky infinite. Farewell, harbor. Anxiously I cut the social whirlwind that binds me to that fatter harbor. For what does a boat without a sea, rusting in the phantom shore, when it has before it the eternal ocean to sail on? The forest, crystal and clear mosque of awaking and dancing pillars, primordial green cathedral where every living being is an idol, divine chorus of trees and birds under the anarchy button of the wind. How ignorant man is building other temples when you are already made. Silence. Oh, silence. What a beautiful music. The whole life singing and knowing that it was silence I was looking for. And now that my music is perfect, I need my instrument no more. Oh, silence. What a beautiful music. Osho. I see you in the wave of the ocean and also in the tear of a child, because you are the vastness of the sky and the depth of the human eye. You are that which can never die. Sumirang. Deep inside my soul, there is a secret sound, so sweet, so round, so intense, so profound. That murmur that comes from far whispers like the beating heart, rumors like the white clouds. Listening, I feel safe and sound. Sumirang, so sweet, so round. Sumirang, so intense, so profound. Sumirang, my divine sound.
उड सिगल उड, अब नपर्ख सिगल, मलाई थाहा छ सपना कति सुन्दर छ र अझै पनि पर्खन गाह्रो छ। एक बालकीय र अवास्तविक सपनाको लागि यसले तिमीलाई निन्द्रामा पार्छ र शोषण गर्छ। सानो परेवा हाम फाल, कुनै दिन तिमीले हाम फाल्नु पर्नेछ र थाहा पाउनु पर्नेछ कि तिमी उड्न सक्छौ र तिम्रो लक्ष्य अझै उच्च छ। नडराऊ सानो चरा, किनकि तिमी उड्नको लागि जन्मेका हौ, गुडमा रहन मात्र होइन, किनकि गुड एकदम सानो छ अनि तिम्रो आकाश यति अनन्त। विदाईको बन्दरगाह। चिन्तित हुँदै मैले सामाजिक आँधीलाई काटे, जसले मलाई त्यो घातक बन्दरगाहमा बाँध्छ। समुद्र बिना डुङ्गाले के गर्छ? खिया लागेको छ, प्रेत किनारमा खिया लागि बसेको छ। जब यसको अगाडि अनन्त महासागर छ डुङ्गा चलाउनको लागि। वन सफा र स्पष्ट मस्जिद, जागृत र नाच्ने स्तम्भहरूको, आदिम हरियो क्याथेड्रल जहाँ हरेक जीव एक मूर्ति हो। रुख र चराहरूको दिव्य गीत, हावाको अराजकताको छडी अन्तर्गत। कति अज्ञानी मान्छे अरू मन्दिर निर्माण गर्ने जब आफू पहिले नै बनेको छ। मौनता ए मौनता कति सुन्दर सङ्गीत। जिन्दगी भर गीत गाएँ, थाहै नपाई कि त्यो मौनता थियो जुन म खोज्दै थिएँ। र अब कि मेरो सङ्गीत सिद्ध छ, मलाई मेरो उपकरण चाहिँदैन। ए मौनता कति सुन्दर सङ्गीत। ओशो। सागरको छालमा म तिमीलाई देख्छु र बच्चाको आँसुमा पनि, किनकि तिमी आकाशको विशालता हौ र मानव आँखाको गहिराई। तिमी त्यो हौ जुन कहिल्यै मर्न सक्दैन। सुमिरन। मेरो आत्माको गहिराई भित्र त्यहाँ एक गोप्य आवाज छ, यति मिठो, यति गोलो, यति गहन, यति गहिरो। टाढाबाट आउने त्यो गुनगुन, मुटुको धड्कन जस्तै, सेतो बादल जस्तै हल्ला गर्ने, त्यो सुन्दा म सुरक्षित र शान्त महसुस गर्दछु। सुमिरन यति मिठो, यति गोलो। सुमिरन यति गहन, यति गहिरो। सुमिरन मेरो दिव्य आवाज।
Okay, so first I have to thank you for your wonderful, not only the translations, which were done in a hurry, in a sense, and especially for your voice, which is very, very beautiful. And this video was meant to be shared with the Nepali people at the hall in Guru Purnima. And so I would like to use this video as a theme of discussion, in a sense, of Mero Sadhana tonight. So in my Spanish newspaper a few days ago, yesterday, I sent Osho's quote, and the question Osho is speaking, what is poetry? So it is very beautiful. Maybe I'm going to translate in English. and do a session with this quote of Osho. But I would like to speak only my relationship with poetry. You know, I'm not a poet. I never thought that I could canalize poetry. But these poems, 6 poems, actually it was like an attempt to tell to the community, to the ashram, what is mero sadhana. So my intention was a little bit subliminal. So I wanted to tell to the ashram, what is this group? What is mero sadhana? And because I have been trying to share that in prose for many months and no one understands, I just decided to say it poetically. That is why I choose 6 poems from a book. I have a book of poems which have more than 30 poems. And the book is called The Song of the Seagull. So this book has 3 chapters. The first one is, the chapter is in the prison. The second chapter is called the fight, the escape, not the fight. And the third chapter is called freedom. So, and how this book was born, it is a miracle, because I never thought I could write poetry, neither that I'm going to do a book of poems. So each poem came to me in a state of trance, in a sense. So when I took sannyas in Germany in 1990, so just 2 months after Osho died, so I started spiritual psychotherapy, doing therapy groups in Germany and in Holland. Before I moved to Pune 3 years later. So I connect with Osho the way one falls in love with a woman. It was like a passionate falling in love. I couldn't understand how listening to this man, reading his book, it will transform my whole being. No? My whole mind was getting into processes. Of course, after that, I took sannyas in Germany, and I started doing spiritual psychotherapy groups. You know, prima feelings, tantra groups, all kinds of therapy, Western therapy of Osho. So when I was coming back, I was living in Luxembourg, and I was doing maybe a group for 3-4 days in Holland or in Germany. When I come back, there was for 3, 4, 5, 7 years, there was always some kind of process inside me. For example, I remember that the first process that came to me, it was the school. How much I suffered in a Catholic school in the 60s, you know, in the 60s, 70s, I would say 60s, in Spain, you know, with the old regime of Franco, etc. So I was in a Catholic school, and all the kids we got from those priests this kind of sexual repression, you know, fear of girls, etc., etc. You know? So each time I went into a process of deconditioning something in my process, I was involved maybe for weeks, maybe for months, like having emotions, and my whole mind was occupied with the school, for example. No? And there was emotional release at home in the forest, no, meditating. No, all my meditations were concerned, for example, with the school. But at the end, when the process was finished, I have the feeling that I have already expressed everything that I could not express to the priest, you know, any kind of things. No, I hate you, fuck you, etc. All these kind of things, no. At the end of each process, miraculously, in the night especially, I could not sleep, and I have the feeling to write something. So I started writing, and I wrote something that it sounds like a poem, but I was throwing these papers in a cupboard. I have a cupboard, and I was throwing these papers there, but I was not giving much importance to those. I was feeling that this is catharsis also. I was doing some kind of catharsis. And then 1 month later, the church, 1 month later, my mother, my brother, the career, the lovers, sex, for many years, I was going through a certain kind of, peeling my skin and going through processes. But that process in the night of writing in a paper, at the end of my process, when I was feeling this is finished already, I have already said to my brother everything I wanted to say, bye-bye, no? So when I was having the feeling the issue was complete, always I took a board, a notebook, and I started writing like crazy things, no? And these papers were being collected in that cupboard. And it's only like 8 or 9 years later that when I was moving, that I saw the cupboard full of papers. And my first feeling was I'm going to burn it, throw it to the garbage. Huh? Because for me, the concept, it was more like a catharsis. Because Osho used to use in spiritual psychotherapy, there is a healing process which is based on writing your feelings. For example, Pranita, for Pranita, it fits very, very, very good that she start writing in paper, and she becomes aware of many, many things from her unconscious. So I got that feeling that all these papers were just garbage. And it's true. The first chapter, which is the prison, I can consider is garbage, no? But beautiful garbage, no? But then I realized that I was okay. Before I throw, let's have a look. And I was amazed because I said, my God, there are more than 35, 40 poems in here. And then I started reading, and I realized that it was my poetical autobiography. I have been reading everything what's happened in my life in a poetical way. So, and then I saw that there were poems in prison. In prison means the conditioning, the mind, being unconscious. The seagull, no? The seagull. And then the fight is the sannyasin who, Merosadhana, no? Merosadhana is, no, I want to go out of this conditioning, and then the third chapter is freedom, which is more mystical poems, no? Poems related to meditation, love, surrender, Osho, silence, Sumirang, no? This is the evolution of the book. So when I realized that, I say, well, I will not throw, I will not burn that material. On the contrary, I will organize and see. And then this book was I would say, analyzed. I didn't write it, so I was feeling so disconnected with the book, I knew that I wrote that, but I have the feeling that it was not me, because I was in a state of dreaming, or in a state of trance, or in a state of catharsis, and sometimes in a state of mystical insights also. No? But after many years of being writing those things, I could not claim that this is mine, no? But, well, I did, no? But the feeling was, it's not me, no? And this is the story of the book. And from that book, which has more than 40 poems, I took three represents the seagull, the unconscious person, and 3 represents the sadhak, the sannyasis. In the book, it's like 20, there are many poems, but for our reciter, I just choose 3. So I would like maybe to go in detail into each poem, and like this, we can speak about the meaning of each poem. And I will share now the screen. Okay. You can see here, no? Fly, seagull, fly. So, you know very well, also in Nepali, no? I ask to you, when you just see this poem, what is your feeling? What is the meaning, what that the poetry is trying to transmit to you?
I think it is saying to make a decision, not just sit around dreaming. I think it relates to the teaching we had earlier, right? It was about daydreaming, kind of, and it is telling to take a step rather than just dreaming. I see it that way.
Okay, in poetry, well, these poems were written in Spanish. Okay, so in the Spanish language, it sounds poetry. Translating into English, the meaning of the poem is there, but the rhythm, the endings, the rhythm is lost. But still, the beauty is there. So there is a book by Richard Bach, very, very famous, called Seagull. It's a very famous book. I don't know if you know. He takes the seagull as the symbol of the human being trying to grow spiritually. So in that book, it is a very short book I wrote when I was a teenager. You can read it in 2 hours. There is a movie also that I will share with you. It's very, very beautiful. And in the movie, the seagull, God made a seagull to fly. Hence, he gave to the seagull amazing big wings to fly. But seagulls, normally, they are stuck just around the fishing boat just to fight for food. So if you see seagulls around the coast, they are always in the port, in dirty waters, where the boats are throwing garbage to the sea when they clean the kitchen and things like that, or when they cut the fish and they throw the stomach of the fish, and then the seagull come and fight like crazy to eat food. So the seagull has the potential to have an amazing high quality fly, but his life is lost in fighting for food. And this is society. And this is the way we are born with a soul. So in the poetry, the soul represents the wing of the seagull. So if you are born with a soul, your destiny is to grow and to know yourself, to know your soul, to become aware, to become a meditator, to become a disciple. But that poem is the first poem of the book, and it was the first poem that I wrote. And when I fall in love with Osho, I became aware that I was that seagull. I was 30 years old, and I have been 30 years fighting stupidly around the boats of career, fame, just fighting for the concert, fighting for the good critic, And I became aware that I was this seagull. But Osho, a master, enlightened master, when the master touches you and you fall in love with a master, from the inside comes this understanding that I am a seagull, but why I have these wings? So I have to fly it, and I have to fly it in perfection. I have to fly it fast. I have to fly very, very good. So that is why I have to jump. Jump, little pigeon, jump. Someday you will have to jump and discover that you can fly, and that your goal is higher yet. So don't stay in the nest. The nest is society. The nest is your family. The nest is your fear. The nest is security. The nest is the attachment to all your personality. So for the nest is so small, in your sky infinite. Your sky is your inner sky. When you are in meditation and there is no mind, when there is no thought, there is no feelings, but you are, a presence of you is still there, the mind is dying. So you are not there, the mind is not there, but you still are. This is your sky, this is your infinite sky. And this is the first insight, I think, that a spiritual seeker has on its own reality. And it's always come either out of suffering. Of course, suffering is a very important ingredient to wake up, but also from the inspiration of a master. A real master will touch your heart, either presential or either through his energy. And this is the being born. So this poem is when the unconscious seagull is transformed into a seeker, spiritual seeker. Can you see it now?
Yeah.
For example, in your case, I use this has happened with Mero Sadhana, yes or not? In our discussion for 6 months now, speaking about the family, arranged marriage, Hinduism, your conditioning to become a computer office corporative worker, etc., which is maybe not your truth. All this represents the unconscious seagull.
Yeah.
Do you see it in yourself?
Yeah, that's why it feels like the poem is speaking to me. I think this applies for anyone who listens to the poem. Since it is talking in second person, right? Saying you, and then I feel like the poem is talking to me to take a step.
But do you take that step?
Well, I think the preparation is going on, but as of yet I have not yet jumped, I think. But I think the poem is also pushing me further and further, and maybe there will be a jump. But as of now, I don't think there is already a jump, but maybe the process towards jump.
And what is avoiding you to jump? Little pigeon.
Yeah, I think the dreams, again, like the poem also talks about those dreams, right? And even if I am more aware of that than in the past, but I think they are not yet dead. Something like the mind is not yet dead. It is still sneaking up, It still comes from another angle, kind of. I think that
Okay.
is happening.
Okay, so you are in the process of jumping. Okay, so let's move to the second poem, which for me is one of the most beautiful. It is very short, but it's very, very intense. Farewell Harbor. So in the clips, I choose the clips for you for the Nepali version, so that the clip also transmit energy with the meaning of the poem. So as you remember, the clip start with a very big, beautiful sailing boat, self-sufficient because it moves with the wind. And this big boat, free in the ocean, is the master. And then at the end, the little boat follow him, like he's leaving the harbor, and he's following the path of a master. So the figure of a master in a spiritual growth is totally needed. It is very rare cases, in that case Osho, but the very, very rare cases of masters did not have masters. Even though Osho have few masters that come to him to guide him, sadhus, but normally a disciple need a master to grow. And in the first poem, Fly Seagull Fly, as you said for yourself, it's like you realized that you have the potential to be happy, calm, relaxed, content, satisfied, peacefully. But you are still thinking if you jump or not. But in this poem, Farewell Harbor, already you take the jump. But in poetry, the vision is that you have to let go, you have to move away from that space that you know, from the known. Your known is your family, your culture, your personality, your profession, your religion, because it is impossible to grow spiritually if you are still attached to the past. And this is all about mero sadhana. This is Osho spiritual psychotherapy. So in the path of a spiritual search, there are many, many situations where the disciple gets stuck. You can get stuck for years and years and years and years. It doesn't matter if you practice yoga. It is very common here in the ashram. I see amazing sadhaks, very disciplined, very beautiful people who practice and practice for years, very high levels of yoga, and they are still afraid of women if they are men, or afraid of men if they are women, or afraid of many, many little fears that represents the harbor. Attached to the family. Do you remember in our sessions of mero sadhana that you all guys of 30 years old, you are still living with mommy and papi at home? And I was conveying the Osho's teaching that what is the meaning of this poem? Let the harbor. Very simple. Let your home of parents, rent a place and start living alone. This is the first step for once to see yourself alone. Who are yourself alone? But it's amazing to see that in the 4 participants of mero sadhana, all were living with a family. And this is also one of the spiritual traps. of the Nepali condition, because in the West, the Western society is so rude. Western people are so rude that there is a lot of conflicts in the family and things like that. So in a certain sense, it's more easy for us to leave the family than for you. Because here in Nepal, you have a very beautiful conditioning. The family is very good, the family is very protective, the papi and mommy are so lovely, they cook for me, and they pay the rent. But in a certain sense, it's a trap. Spiritually, it becomes a trap. Because, for example, one of the things, of the very few things I may like from American people, I was in the United States, and what I really appreciate in that culture is that parents, even rich parents who has money, they throw away the kids and they say, move along, work in the supermarket, I don't give you money. And they are doing that out of compassion. It's love. Because when you pamper a kid, you destroy him. So freedom is never reached without responsibility. So parents should teach to the kids, clean the house, make your food, go away, move away, have your own apartment. I pay the money. Venga, you don't have money, so I pay the room, but you live alone. This is compassion for me. But when parents, due to the culture, Nepali culture, Hinduism, they pamper the kid, they protect too much the kid, and the family becomes a nest, very cozy, then you are trapped, in a sense. And this is the meaning of the farewell harbor. For me, according to my experience, if you want really to grow spiritually, you have to be alone, to face yourself alone. And for example, here in the ashram, there are two kinds of disciples. Ones, I call it the ashramics, that are the one who has dropped the family, have dropped religion, have dropped the job, and they follow the master very, very, very totally. So they are working in karma sadhana, they are meditating, and that process of bhava works very, very good if you do that. But then you have the disciple that comes 2 times per year to see the master in Guru Purnima, or they come once in a while to do a program, but they are totally involved in society, problems with family, with work, with survival, with kids. And okay, this is also a searcher. I don't say that they are not seeking, but they are still somehow tied to the harbor. So there are two levels of growth. So a master always proposes you farewell harbor, follow me. Poetically, but in reality, in case of you, Naveen, Pranita, etc., is live alone. First step. And then the second step will come by its own. And this is the meaning of this poem. I cut the social whirlwind that binds me to that fatal harbor. Family, tradition, religion, personality. For what does a boat without a sea? You remember the seagull. What does a seagull just eating food around the fishing boat? And it is not exploring the potential of flying far, flying higher. No? It's the same. But this is the meaning of this poem. So now I ask you, where are you? In a harbor or in the open sea, open ocean?
Yes, still in the harbor. Okay. Still in the harbor. Not taken the jump yet, so.
Well, but you are already maybe conceiving the idea of exploring a little bit and come back to the harbor. No, it's like it's not really in the harbor. You go and you come back. No.
Yeah, maybe but in action wise, I don't think I have taken it. But yeah, like preparation still is same as for seagull, right?
But what is really what binds you? What is avoiding you? Is a question of commodity. In your home, you get food, they clean the room. All this is important to you?
Yeah, I think the comfort, like the comfort bubble kind of that has trapped, and maybe the fear of survival is in the depth, right? But if you see surfacely, it might not be visible, but I think that is in the play.
I think you mentioned the two very extreme things. One is very superficial, it's not really important. Commodity, comfort. This is, you can cook yourself also. If you learn to cook, you will enjoy doing your food. This is not a big problem, but the fear of survival is really what ties you to the family. Why?
Maybe because I've never been to that place, like fear of unknown, kind of like I am not been out of the harbor, right? So that is a fear. And on the other one is, I think, also the obedience part, Sangit.
Well,
the obedience.
This is conditioning, also superficial. All this can be dropped. Being obedient, being a Hindu, all this is something which you can easily drop it if you want it. No? But the fear of survival is something which is very, very deep and very difficult to move away from it. Why? Because when you were born and you were a baby, mommy was there. So if the mother is not there, the baby feels afraid of dying. And even with the mother there, the baby is crying, the baby is afraid. So because being birth in itself, being born, is a very traumatic experience for a baby, you know? So all the psychologues, they go into that understanding that a baby is very cozy for 9 months, no worries of survival, food is provided through the umbilical cordon, he is happy there, full of love. The mother, he's not aware who he is, of course, but then birth happened, and for him it's a trauma. Painful, very painful. So a baby is born crying, and then the stupid doctor slap him on the, to make him cry. So birth is already the first trauma of a human being, no, you understand? So that mommy is there, and food and the breast. So this association is, if my mother is not there, I die. That is the first association with fear of survival. And then mother, the baby grows in age, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and mother becomes the family, and the family becomes the nation, and the nation becomes your personality. Then it's so difficult to move away from all that because you start trembling. Because the first fear of that baby is triggered. The moment you conceive the idea of dropping the family, you may feel bad, you may feel anxious, nervous, afraid, your sleep may be disturbed. But all this is coming basically from the fear of survival. And that is why the Buddha field is very important in the process of spiritual seeker, because the Buddha fields temporarily becomes the compensation. You drop your family and you are in a Buddha field where people are there to support you, but not to take care of you. In a Buddha field, you have to have the responsibility of your own. But everybody is taking care of his own. At the same time, everybody is doing a karma sadhana for the community. And that is this amazing support to jump from the family into the ashram or Buddha field. That is why I always suggest Pranita, that if you move from home, you may move around a spiritual field, a spiritual Buddha field, an ashram where you can have the support, that you are not really exposed to too much fear. No? You understand the meaning now? What is a Buddha field? What is an ashram? It's not only a place to meditate together, to work together, but it has also at the beginning the function of not replacing. That is not the right word. It's just that it makes easy for you to leave the family. You learn to be alone in a group, in a community, and then later you drop the community too, and then you are that seagull flying free alone. So the Buddha field is a help, it's a support for going through all those fears. Understand? So let's go to the next poem. In the forest, for me, it is the same thing that I was saying about the Buddha field. For example, when I became Osho's disciple, I was living in Luxembourg, and in Luxembourg there was no ashram, no even Osho's community at all, no Osho center, nothing. And I was going every one or 2 months to Germany with my cars, only 3 hours, and come back for weekends, no? Like here in the ashram, they do programs for the weekend, right? So I was going to do a spiritual psychotherapy in Holland, in Germany, and then coming back to Luxembourg. So the forest, nature became, for me, it was very important because I didn't have the Buddha field. I didn't have an ashram in Luxembourg where I could make strong my individuality. So the forest became, out of the blue, my refuge. And that is why for 3 years in Luxembourg, I buy the van and I make a caravan, like a house, a caravan. And I was the whole day in the forest, going to teach, go to the forest with my dog, sleep in my home. I was like spending 8-10 hours a day in the forest. And the forest became for me that support that if I would have a Buddha field in Luxembourg, I would not go to the forest. So that is why nature is very, very important for the spiritual seeker. Because in nature, you don't find mind. Mind is in society. Trees, mountains, birds, even leopards in the mountains, they are without mind. So when you are in nature, you are very much close to meditation. Hence, in the poem, I say, crystal and clear mosque of awakening and dancing pillars. So the trees, you see the church with the pillars, no? But they are dancing because they are the trees. Primordial green cathedral where every living being is an idol, birds singing, a deer running. Why to put St. Joseph, St. Mary, Krishna, all these statues of saints and all these things. A bird singing isn't real living idol. So if you want to worship something, I think it's better to worship a living being, no? A child, no? For me, at the street, I love the kids so much because the kids, still, they don't have too much mind. They are growing into adulthood, but a 3, 4, 5, 7 years old kid still is like an animal, full of innocence, laughter, beauty, no? So for me, my real statues, for me, even Osho here in the ashram, I never look at Osho's statue. I don't have any connection to a statue. Buddha, Krishna, people here put flowers and they bow down to a statue. I bow down to the kids at the street, to the dogs. I love so much the dogs at the street. I'm bringing cookies. So that is my way I perceive an idol. A spiritual idol for me is a living being. A dog, a kid, you, a human being, is the real statue. I mean, it's my way of being devotional, but I cannot feel devotion for a fucking statue of mud or stone. No? It's not my way. So this is the meaning of the forest. No? How ignorant man is building other temples. When you are already made, it's like waking up to the insight. They say, why to go into a temple? Go to the forest, go to the mountain. You are with God. You are closer with God in action. That's why Baba is always in Devgat. No? He escaped Kathmandu because he is so happy in Devgat, like growing coffee and mango. And life is a joke. Life is a fucking joke. Okay, so with these 3 poems, I wanted to describe the process, the imprison and the fight. But now, with the other silence, with the other poems, you find the meaning of silence, no? So of meditation. It's like you start becoming aware of your practice, your sadhana, day by day. So you start experiencing the first moments of silence. No? And this point for me is very important because as a musician, my biggest attachment was the guitar, music. And this poem, only a musician really can understand, a person who knows me, because I was so much attached to music that it was my biggest barrier for silence. My mind was always maybe a businessman or a politician. His mind is full of money, power, ambition. But artist is the same. But my mind was full of desires of becoming another CD, another concert, another piece, always the same. Just changing. The politician wants power, I want fame. What's the difference? So, when I started feeling for the first time the feeling of silence in Pune, after dynamic in the morning, who. And then it's 6:30 in the morning and you listen to the birds and you are there inspired, and then for the first time in your life, the mind is not there. You experience silence. Or when you do gibberish, for 1 week in the processes, mind is not there and you experience silence. That point comes in all silence. What beautiful music. The whole life singing, and knowing that it was silence I was looking for. And now that my music is perfect, it's not music, my silence is the perfect music. And now that I have silence, I need the fucking guitar no more. And it is true. So I could let go of my career only when I found silence. If not, it will be impossible to let go of what the musical career was representing for me. Impossible. Totally impossible. Because I remember feelings of performing in Taiwan, concerts, a hall full of 1,500 people, and at the end of the concert, many people coming for the signature of the CD and things like that. And I was feeling empty, I was feeling this is not what I'm looking for. My whole life I wanted to be famous. Now I am a little famous and I feel frustrated and even depressed. The feeling that no, that is not what I want. And what is really what you want? What is the only thing that satiates your thirst? Meditation. Go into your source. Silence. Sumirán, whatever, no? Once you get that, the compensation that you were doing has no meaning anymore. So you can drop only attachments to your biggest emotional addiction, I would say, only when you find a connection with your soul. Before that, you can pretend or you can follow some kind of morality. There are some people who do stupid things following a teacher or a master, especially in Hinduism, these kind of things. Draw money, follow me, become a poor, become a sadhu. So they drop, but they have not maybe connected with your own soul. So that's not the way. The way is when you connect with your own soul, anything that you were doing as a compensation, because you didn't have that, loses power on you. And that is why this poem is maybe for me one of the most beautiful for me, because it represents the moment when I let go of my career. Not the guitar. I still love music and I play guitar and it's more as a hobby, but the career was something like a very, very sick. It brought me to insomnia, it brought me to sickness, etc., etc. Hence, all silence. What a beautiful music! It's really beautiful poetry. Silence, music. And now that my music is perfect, and now that I got silence, I need my instrument no more. Understand? Something to say? Something to share?
I think silence is the best thing. No, yeah, I think this silence is representing the state of meditation, right?
Yeah, but
The meditative state.
But for example, you are meditating now for 6 months. You have done Kundalini, Nada Brahma, Gibberish, Pranayama, and for the moment 4, even dancing, Natarash. Okay, so do you remember moments of silence where you were happy and wow, what is this? Problem has disappeared. It's so good. Do you remember those moments in your meditations?
Yeah. Mostly it is always like, oh, it was always there. Why was not I meditating regularly? Why did I miss? It is always like, not exactly regret, kind of regret maybe, but it is like, oh, I had this option and I was wandering around other things. It is that realization. It has happened many times. Especially in the hall, the first time we did, that was like,
Nada Brahma.
that was the Yeah, Nada Brahma and also
Kundalini.
Yeah, Kundalini meditation and yeah, that there are moments like, oh, I was just searching around in the outer world for the thing that is already there, and yeah, I think I've reached that. It is always like, okay, why didn't I meditate regularly, kind of thing, kind of regret as well.
Yeah, but watch your mind, because still this is your biggest problems, or because you have difficulty to keep your sadhana. This group, besides talking about processes, attachments, and Osho's teaching, learning meditation, for me, the main target of my group, Mero Sadhana, is precisely Mero, your sadhana. So if you cannot practice daily, you will get stuck, because the mind is continuously gathering dust on the mirror of your consciousness. It is like an artist. For example, artists who don't practice, fingers become heavy, and you lost musicality. You cannot be a good musician if you don't practice daily. So meditation is even deeper than that, than art. Hence, I always put emphasis continuously, week by week, with you for 6 months. Your sadhana, you have to practice every day, because if you don't, the mind don't like meditation. The mind hates meditation, because meditation is the death of the mind. So mind will do all kinds of tricks to boycott your meditation. So you need a certain will, a certain kind of discipline, to say, well, I meditate that, and I follow. The mind will propose you some kind of a story. Okay, but I have to do Mero Sadhana, me Sadhana, Mero Sadhana, my Sadhana, That, because without the practice, the skill is not growing. You understand? So, and you have this little handicap, because you are alone, and your family, no one meditates. In your neighborhood, in your home, everybody is fighting for the food around the fishing boats, So nothing is supporting your sadhana there, nothing. So to follow a sadhana in your situation, you need a will of steel, That is why sometimes you don't meditate for days, and then you get heavy mind, So let's continue with the last two are the two masters I have, Osho, and Baba. The first one is Osho. And these two poems, they are the only two poems that came in English. The other are in Spanish translated, but these one are written in English directly, So I see you in the wave of the ocean, and also in the tear of a child, because you are the vastness of the sky and the depth of the human eyes. You are that which can never die. It's the same than the kid, When I say that, for me, a kid, a child is a real idol, is my statue. So if you cannot see in the eyes of a woman, in your case, or in the case of a woman, if you cannot see in the eyes of a man God, you are cheating yourself. It doesn't matter if you are meditator, sadhu, monk. For me, the path of meditation has nothing to do with brahmacharya, celibacy, controlling your sexual energy because you are a yogi and you don't want to throw out your energy, etc. If you cannot see, as a man, me, That's why I love women. No? When I see a woman, it's my idol also. A woman is the inspiration for the man. A man is nothing without a woman. The beauty of the woman, the grace, the femininity, the softness. From where are you going to get? From another man? That's why in nature, the law is Tantra. Day, night, man, woman. So this is for me, one of the biggest traps in spirituality. If you cannot see in the eyes of a woman God, it doesn't matter if you are doing yoga for 20 years and praying and whatever spiritual practice you are doing. For me, you are cheating yourself. Does not mean neither that you are indulging in sex and you are crazy just running with women for sex. No. It's the recognition that the woman as a man, no? And vice versa, no? It's the recognition that this is my polar opposite. If I have to discover inside me, I have to recognize it outside me. Hence, the beauty of Tantra, the beauty of being in harmony with your polar opposite. My experience in meditation is that the more, excuse me for the expression, the more I fuck, the more I meditate better. And that this for the yogi is totally the contrary. The yogis, they think that if you make love, you lost your energy. This is not for the tantric. For the tantric person, to make love with love, to make love with respect, to make love with appreciation, respect to the other, is the biggest meditation you can have. And you are not losing anything. On the contrary, the more you do, the more you gain from the inside. But this is the path of Tantra. I do respect the path of yoga. I don't contradict, but it's not for me. The path of Tantra is as valuable as the path of yoga, but this is what I got from Osho. Osho was a master, I think, he touches all the spectrum of spirituality. He talked for 40 years about all the traditions, but for me, if I have to define Osho with only one phrase, I would say, he is a tantric master. Not in the sense of indulging sex, no. A real tantra, which is much, much deeper than sex. But we are not going to enter now into that definition, what is tantra, no, on the level of Osho. But it has to start by the recognition of the polar opposite. So if you are a yogi and you are a brahmacharya or a celibate your whole life, how are you going to recognize your inner woman if you don't recognize it in the outside? Okay, and then the last one is Sumirang, and this is a poem that I wrote for Baba Patik, my master of Nepal. And it's simply the description of his beautiful and amazing technique of meditation, which is Sumirang, or divine sound. This is an experience that you have to get from him as an initiation and called Divya. But the description of Sumirang is simply, it's a meditation where the focus of your attention is listening. It's a very yin path. It is related to bhakti, to devotion for the master, very feminine path, very, very feminine. Hence, the ears as an organ, they are holes, they are open. It's like a vagina. The ear is always receiving. So I was saying, I used that in Sumirang is the last poem. It is a poem that describes my experience here in Nepal with Baba Patik. And this poem is really very, very difficult to understand if you are not initiated by him into his spiritual path, because this is a transmission from master to disciple. It's not the technique, because the technique, it can be conveyed to you by me, by Satnam Swami or Gyanitama. I mean, any teacher can convey a technique, but behind the technique there is the seed that the master will put in the disciple to be able to listening to the divine sound. And this is a very subjective Eastern devotional technique of meditation, which is only appropriate for people who have the capacity to surrender. So people who are in the ego, for example, the West has another techniques, no? For example, a male mind will do vipassana, like a yoga, like always fighting with technique, no? Sumirang or listening as a meditation is the most easy thing, but it can be also the most difficult, because if you don't surrender, the listening does not happen. So for me, it's very difficult to describe. I can use my talent in language to describe you what is the meaning of Sumiran, but actually there are things that cannot be said with words. But the only thing to support a little bit your understanding, I would say that the most of the techniques that I have experienced on meditation, they are basically male techniques. Even Vipassana, even the Zen monks, a monk is like a street austerities, yoga, all these things, it implies doing, becoming, mastering, perfection, the yogi, always obsessed with perfection and things like that. But Sumirang and Bhakti is the path of the, how to say, it's a path that only fit with a female type of mind. A female type of mind who is capable of surrendering, letting go, and devotion. I repeat, devotion is not just the way Eastern people may feel devotion, towards the master, touching the feet of the master. Devotion for me is children, dogs, human beings, a woman. It's the same, no? But if you are not in this state of feminine energy receiving through the ear, no? You are not pushing your life. You are waiting. Things will happen. I accept. So all these qualities of the female mind are required to practice divine sound meditation or Sumirang. Hence, the ear is the most feminine organ that you may have. If you are a woman, of course, your vagina is very female because it's receiving, no? But the ear is totally, you cannot stop hearing, You can close your eyes and you don't see. You have the control of your eyes. By closing, I don't see. But you cannot close your listening. Listening is always there. Hence, for, I would say, perfectionist meditators, these meditations looks absurd, empty, easy, stupid, But in life, the most of the time, as Baba says, easiness is my business. He always say that, It's a good description of the female path. When you see here in the ashram these women who are around Baba, who have dropped the family, jobs, careers, and they are happy working in the fields, cleaning the house, cooking, and very devotee to his master. And this loving energy that you can feel in the ashram is bhakti and is sumiran. So nothing more to say. So you are welcome to come to the ashram and meet the people here and feel that by yourself. Okay, Ayus, if you want something to say, I give you the last words of this session.
Yeah, thank you for giving me an opportunity to help in the translation and recital of this one, and also teaching me how to recite a poem, because I didn't have the I didn't have the style of doing that way, but you guided me and I learned a few things. I think, yeah, as is already said, these are like stages of the spiritual journey, and yeah, I think they're really beautiful.
So for me, I hope that they become seeds in you, that it may grow in the future as deeper understanding of your own life. I have just to say that Pranita, Pranita is an amazing reader. She has very good, for years and years, she's a lover of poetry, books, reading. And she told me that your translation were amazing, very, very well, very understanding, very, very good Nepali. And I thanks you a lot for your cooperation. And this video is there for the ashram and for the Nepali people who wants to listen those poems. So Ayush, good night and see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you. Namaste.
Bye-bye.